This story is from Chapter 3 of the book American Heroes, the best of the best, and it's one of the most incredible stories I've ever read. It's called His Best Friend Took the Flag Home. Two young men carried identical American flags in their helmets. The flags were a gift to the families of the two soldiers, just in case one of them died on deployment, but they both swore that if one of them got killed in action, the survivor would carry both flags home. That way, no matter who died, their family would still get both flags. A few months later, this young man was on a mission in Fallujah when he was shot and killed. His best friend was wounded but alive. As the medics rushed to help, he tucked both flags inside his chest pocket and held on tight. He survived and returned home. The survivor went to the dead soldier's mother and told her, "I have something that belongs to you and something that belongs to me." He handed over the flag that had been in his friend's helmet, and she reached out to take it. He stopped her and said, "No, this isn't the flag for me yet. This is for you. Your son gave me both flags so that no matter what happened, you would get them both back." She looked at him for a moment and then finally asked, "Where's my son?" When she heard that he had died, she began to sob uncontrollably. She stood there on the porch crying, holding onto her son's flag. Then she turned to the soldier and said, "Thank you for keeping your word." He broke down and started crying as well. The two of them cried on that porch for a long time, each lost in their own grief. Eventually, the soldier left, and whenever the mother thought about what had happened, she saw the same thing, the two flags in the grass, her son's body being carried away, and the lone soldier walking back to her house with both flags in his hands. She kept her son's flag in a glass case in her living room. Every day she would look at the flag and remember the sacrifice that had been made so that she could keep it. It was only later that she learned that the young man who had brought her the flag had become a prisoner of war. He had been tortured and beaten badly, but he refused to forget his promise. He never revealed how he managed to keep his word and bring the flag home, even after enduring unimaginable suffering. The story of the two soldiers with the flags in their helmets became a part of the best-selling book American Heroes, the best of the best. The book tells the true stories of 12 brave men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our freedom. Their stories are a testament to the courage and selflessness of those who serve our country. From a young age, we are taught to be honorable and to keep our word. We learn that honesty and integrity are essential to being a good person. Yet somehow along the way, we often forget the importance of these lessons. We let the little things slip by, like not telling the truth or making excuses. Instead of taking responsibility for our actions, we convince ourselves that these small lies won't hurt anyone and that it's okay to break the rules once in a while. But the truth is that every lie and every broken promise erodes our character and makes us less than we can be. These men and women remind us that it's always important to be honest and keep our promises, no matter how difficult it may be. Their bravery in the face of danger and their unwavering commitment to their country and their fellow citizens are an inspiration to us all. These stories are a reminder that we should strive to be better people, to be more honest and keep our promises, and to be more courageous in the face of adversity. So let's take a moment to honor these heroes and to reflect on the lessons they have taught us. Let's remember that honesty and integrity are essential to being a good person, that courage is necessary to overcome adversity, and that selflessness and service to others are the highest forms of patriotism. Let's also take a moment to thank the author for sharing these stories with us and reminding us of the sacrifices that have been made to preserve our freedom. So do you find this story inspiring? Tell us about yourself. And if you want to hear more stories like this one, check out the book American Heroes, the best of the best, or stay tuned for more videos. We have a lot more stories about real American heroes coming up. Now let's move on to the next story. This story is from Chapter 4 of the book Unbroken, a World War II story of survival, resilience, and redemption. It's the story of Louis Zamperin, an Olympic runner who survived a plane crash, spent 47 days adrift at sea, and endured years of torture in a Japanese prison camp during World War II. After his ordeal, he returned to the United States and became a successful businessman and motivational speaker. Louis was born in 1908 in a poor Italian immigrant neighborhood in Cleveland, Ohio. From a young age, he was a troubled child, often getting into fights and skipping school. He was also an exceptional athlete, excelling in baseball, football, and track. When Louis was 14, his father abandoned the family, and his mother had to work long hours to support them. This made Louis resentful and he began to rebel against authority. He dropped out of high school and joined a gang of young toughs who robbed trains and committed other crimes. One day, Louis and his friends attempted to rob a train but were caught by the police. Louis was sent to reform school where he continued to cause trouble. He was eventually expelled and returned to live with his mother. Determined to turn his life around, Louis began to focus on his athletic abilities. He trained hard and soon became one of the best runners in the country. In 1932, he qualified for the Olympic team and competed in the 5,000 meters at the Los Angeles Olympics. He finished in 8th place, but had established himself as a talented runner. In 1936, Louis competed in the Berlin Olympics and won a bronze medal in the 4x400 meter relay. After the Olympics, Louis's athletic career began to decline and he turned to coaching other runners. When World War II broke out, Louis enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Corps and became a bombardier on a B-24 bomber. On July 1943, Louis and his crew took off on a mission to bomb Japanese forces in the Pacific. Their plane was hit by anti-aircraft fire and crashed into the ocean. Louis and 2 other crew members managed to escape in a life raft and spent 47 days adrift at sea. They survived on a diet of rainwater and the meager rations they had on board the raft. Eventually, they were spotted and rescued by a submarine. Upon his return to the United States, Louis was interviewed by journalists and became a minor celebrity. He was invited to meet President Franklin D. Roosevelt and was featured in a popular radio program. But Louis's time in the spotlight was short. Soon after his rescue, he was sent back to the Pacific to continue his service. In August 1945, Japan surrendered and World War II came to an end. Louis was eager to return home, but he was detained in a prison camp by the Japanese. The guards at the camp were brutal and tortured Louis and the other prisoners. They were forced to sleep while standing and were denied food and water. After 8 months in the prison camp, Louis was finally released and returned to the United States. He was suffering from severe malnutrition and had to spend time in a hospital recovering. Despite his ordeal, Louis was determined to put his life back together. He married a woman he had met before the war and began working as a carpenter. He eventually opened his own business and became a successful contractor. Throughout his adult life, Louis struggled with the trauma of his experiences in the prison camp. He suffered from nightmares and flashbacks and was haunted by the memory of his fallen comrades. He also struggled with alcoholism and depression. In the 1960s, Louis began to open up about his experiences in the prison camp in an effort to raise awareness of the atrocities committed by the Japanese. He also became a motivational speaker and shared his story with audiences around the world. In 1996, Louis's story was told in the book Unbroken, a World War II story of survival, resilience, and redemption. The book was a critical and commercial success and was later adapted into a film. Louis passed away in 2014 at the age of 96. He was survived by his wife, children, and grandchildren. He was remembered as a hero who had shown extraordinary courage and resilience in the face of unimaginable adversity. The most heartbreaking thing a soldier could do was to take his best friend's flag home. When they were shipped out to Iraq, 2 soldiers who were best friends carried matching American flags in their helmets. Their job was simple. They had to plant the flags on buildings to let the residents know that they had been liberated. The flags were a symbol of hope for the people, but also a reminder for the soldiers of what they were fighting for. They fought bravely, and one day they managed to reach the city of Fallujah. But that day would be the last day for one of them. During the mission, they came under fire from an enemy sniper. Despite taking cover behind a wall, the bullets found their way through the gaps and hit them. As the battle raged on around them, both soldiers knew it was only a matter of time before one of them would be left without his best friend. As the battle continued, the wounded soldier began to lose consciousness, and when he heard his best friend shout out his name, he looked up just in time to see his friend shoot the sniper. But as the battle came to an end, and they walked away from the fallen soldier, the one who had survived knew that he would never forget his friend or the promise that they had made to each other. When they had first gotten their flags, the 2 friends had joked about who would get to take the other's flag if one of them died, and at that moment, it became clear that the surviving soldier would need to keep his promise. He tucked both flags in his chest pocket and headed back to base. He didn't know what to do with them and didn't want to leave them behind. He wanted to honor his friend, but he wasn't sure how. He thought about his friend's family and knew that they deserved to have their son's flag, but he didn't know how to get it to them. When he finally returned home, he didn't know what to do with the flags. He thought about throwing them in the trash, but couldn't bear the thought of doing that to such a sacred object. Instead, he decided to keep them in his possession until he figured out what to do with them. One day, he was able to make contact with the soldier's mother. At first, she was angry, thinking that her son had died in vain. But when he explained why he was there, she understood. She told him to bring the flag to her house and then hung up the phone. When the soldier arrived at the house, he knocked on the door and waited. When it opened, he saw a woman standing there with tears in her eyes. She took the flags from him and said, "You kept your word." Then she closed the door, and he heard sobbing coming from inside. He stood on the porch for a long time, thinking about his friend and what he had done. He felt pride in his friend's memory, but also sadness for the loss he had suffered. Eventually, he went home, but not before promising himself that he would never forget his friend. This story has become one of the best-selling books of all time, and has been translated into over 20 languages. The mother of the fallen soldier kept the flag that her son had given her in a glass case in her living room. She cherished it, knowing that it was a symbol of the ultimate sacrifice that her son had made. Every time she looked at it, she was reminded of the bravery and selflessness that had defined her son's life and the impact that he had made on the world. It was a reminder to her and everyone who knew him that true heroes don't die, they live on in the hearts of those around them. The story touched the hearts of millions of people around the world. People were inspired by the courage and selflessness of the soldiers who risked their lives every day to protect their freedoms that we all cherish. The story became a symbol of the sacrifices that our troops make every day and the importance of honoring their service and sacrifice. The story also highlighted the power of friendship and the bonds that we form with those who serve alongside us. The two soldiers who served together had formed a special bond, and their friendship was evident in the way that they supported each other through thick and thin. Even in the face of death, their friendship remained strong, and it was a testament to the power of human connection. In the aftermath of the story, many people began to call for greater support for our troops and their families. They wanted to ensure that the sacrifices that these brave men and women make every day are never forgotten, and that their families are taken care of. There were renewed calls for better health care and mental health services for veterans and their families, as well as greater support for those who have lost loved ones in combat. The story also sparked a national conversation about the cost of war and the importance of seeking peace whenever possible. Many people began to question whether the wars that we are currently involved in are truly necessary, and what we can do to promote peace and understanding around the world. There were calls for greater diplomatic efforts and for investing in humanitarian aid and development programs to help alleviate the suffering of those caught in the crossfire of war. Overall, this story was a powerful reminder of the courage, selflessness, and sacrifice of our troops, and the importance of supporting them and their families. It was a story that transcended national borders and touched the hearts of people around the world. I hope you enjoyed this emotional story. If you did, please remember to like the video and share it with your friends. Your support helps me continue to bring you inspiring stories that I believe will brighten your day. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and see you in the next video.